You stand at the doorway of your cottage, looking out at a world that has forgotten what dryness means. The rain falls in sheets, in curtains, in walls of water that obscure everything beyond a few feet. It has been falling like this for days, weeks. You have lost count. The sound is constant on the thatched roof above you. The rain drums with a rhythm that never varies, never pauses. It is not the gentle patter of a spring shower. It is a roar, a continuous assault of water against straw, against wood, against the very earth itself. The thatch, which should shed water like a duck's back, is saturated. You can see it sagging in places. Heavy with moisture, it can no longer repel. Water drips through in 3 places now. You have positioned wooden bowls beneath the leaks, and the sound of drops hitting the bowls adds a counterpoint to the rain's main melody. Plink, plink, plink. Each drop a small reminder that the barrier between inside and outside is failing. The year is spring, or what should be spring. The calendar says that by now, the fields should be warming, the earth should be drying enough to plough, the seeds should be going into the ground, but the calendar means nothing to the sky. The rain does not care what month it is supposed to be. You step outside, and immediately your shoes, rough leather, already cracked and splitting, sink into mud. Not damp earth, not soft ground, mud, thick, clinging, cold mud that sucks at your feet with each step. The village lane, which in summer is hard-packed dirt worn smooth by countless feet, is now a river of brown water flowing downhill toward the church. The other cottages look like yours, thatched roofs, dark with water, walls of wattle and daub, woven sticks packed with mud and straw, turning soft and beginning to bulge. Some cottages already have streams of brown water running down their walls as the daub dissolves, revealing the stick framework beneath. Smoke should be rising from the smoke holes in the roofs, but the rain beats it down, scatters it, turns it into low-hanging fog that mixes with the mist and makes the whole village seem like it is underwater, drowning slowly in grey dampness. You see your neighbour, an old man whose name is William, trying to repair his fence. The wooden posts have rotted at ground level, weakened by weeks of standing in saturated soil. He is attempting to brace them with stones, but the mud will not hold the stones. They sink. Everything is being pulled down into the earth by water and gravity and time. He looks up as you approach. His face is grey, the colour of the sky, the colour of the rain. He does not greet you. There is nothing to say. You both know what this means. The fields are too wet to plough. Even if you could get a plough through the mud, the seeds would rot in the waterlogged ground. There will be no spring planting. Without spring planting, there will be no autumn harvest. Without harvest, there will be no food. But that is future worry. That is the terror that waits months away. For now, there is only the rain and the mud, and the slow dissolution of everything you built to keep the weather out. You return to your cottage and close the door. Inside, the air is damp. Everything is damp. The rushes on the floor, which should be dry and sweet-smelling, are mouldy and slip. The blankets on your sleeping pallet feel heavy with moisture. Your clothes never truly dry. You put them on damp in the morning and take them off damp at night. The fire in your hearth struggles. The wood you collected before the rains began is running low, and everything you try to burn now is wet. The logs hiss and steam more than they burn. The smoke, unable to toy properly through the saturated thatch, fills the cottage instead, making your eyes water, making you cough. But you keep the fire going because without it, the cold would be unbearable. This is not winter cold, not the clean, sharp cold of frost and snow. This is the insidious cold of dampness. The cold that seeps into your bones and will not leave. The cold that makes your joints ache and your chest tighten. You settle onto the wooden bench near the fire and listen. The rain on the roof, the drips into the bowls, the hiss of wet wood burning. And beneath all of this, if you listen carefully, you can hear the sound of water flowing past your cottage walls, running downhill, carrying away the topsoil from the fields, eroding everything, changing the very shape of the land. This is not a storm. A storm passes. A storm ends. This is something else, something that feels permanent, as if the world has shifted into a new state where rain is not weather, but reality, where dryness is just a memory, a story from a different time. You remember you remember standing in a field in summer, feeling warmth on your face, watching grain grow tall and golden, but that memory seems impossible now, like a dream or a tale told by travelers from a distant land. How could the sun have been so bright? How could the earth have been so dry? It seems like a fantasy, like something that never truly existed. Outside, a child cries. The sound is thin and distant, muffled by rain and walls, and the general dampness of the world. The child is hungry, All the children are hungry. The stored grain from last year's harvest is running low. It was not a good harvest to begin with. Last year was wet too, though not like this, and it was meant to last until this year's harvest. But this year's harvest will not come. You close your eyes and listen only to the rain. There is something almost meditative about its constant. It does not change. It does not stop. It simply is. And in the face of something so vast and indifferent, there is a strange peace in acceptance. You cannot stop the rain. You cannot make the sun appear. You can only wait and endure and hope that eventually, somewhere in the future, the sky will remember how to be blue. The rain continues. It will rain tomorrow, and the day after, and the day after that. But for now you sit by your struggling fire in your damp cottage and you wait. The year is 3048. The rain has long since stopped. Summer has come, and with it, something else. Something that travelled with merchants from the east, hidden in the holds of ships, carried in the bodies of rats, in the bites of fleas too small to see. But you do not know any of this. You only know that the city has grown quiet. Stand at your window now. It is mid-morning on what should be a market day. The street below should be alive with sound, cartwheels on cobblestones, merchants calling their wares, children running between the stalls, the constant hum of human activity that defines a living city. Instead, there is silence, not complete silence. You can still hear things, but they are wrong, out of place. A dog barks somewhere, then stops abruptly. A shutter bangs in the wind, no one bothering to secure it, and beneath everything, so faint you might be imagining it, the sound of a church bell ringing, not the regular calls to prayer, something else, something constant and mournful. The street itself looks strange. The cobblestones, which were worn smooth and clean by countless feet and cartwheels, now have thin lines, grass growing between them, green life pushing up through the cracks where people used to walk. It has been perhaps 3 weeks since crowds filled this street. 3 weeks, and already nature is reclaiming the space. A cart stands abandoned near the corner. You can see bundles of cloth still loaded on it, probably expensive fabric from Flanders or Italy. The merchant must have left in a hurry, or perhaps he did not leave at all. You do not look too closely at the doorways. You have learned not to look at doorways. The market square, which you can just glimpse from your window if you lean out slightly, though you do not lean out, you have learned to stay inside, is empty. The stalls are still there, their wooden frames bare. Some have collapsed, their supports rotting because no one came to maintain them. Pigeons have taken over the abandoned spaces, and you can see them pecking at the ground, searching for the grain that used to spill during market days. You step back from the window and secure the shutter. The wood is solid, oak, with a strong bar that drops into iron bracket. This bar has always been here, meant to keep out thieves. Now it serves a different purpose. You do not know if a locked door can truly keep out what is happening outside, but it is all you can do. The door is locked. The shutters are closed. You have created a barrier between inside and outside, between safety and whatever walks the silent streets. Inside your home, life continues in a strange, suspended state. You have enough food for now. When news of the plague first reached the city, before the silence fell, you spent what money you had on grain, on dried beans, on salted pork. Your small storage room is stacked with barrels and sacks. Enough for perhaps 2 months if you are careful, enough to wait out whatever this is. Water is more difficult. The well in the square is still accessible, but going to it means leaving the house, means walking through the silent streets, means risking whatever danger lurks in that silence. You go once every 3 days at dawn when the streets are emptiest, carrying 2 large buckets. You move quickly, head down, speaking to no one. There are others at the well sometimes, all keeping their distance, all moving with the same hurried purpose. No one speaks, no one asks questions. You draw your water and you leave. The silence is not peaceful. It is heavy, oppressive, filled with unspoken knowledge. Every person in this city knows what is happening. Every person has heard the stories from other towns, other cities, the sickness that burns through people like wildfire, the way entire families disappear, the carts that come in the night to collect what the dawn reveals, but no one speaks of it. To speak of it might somehow make it more real, might invite it in. So there is only silence, and the careful maintenance of routines, and the hope that your door is strong enough, your walls are thick enough, your preparations are sufficient. At night, the silence is absolute. No tavern songs, No late-night conversations, no sounds of people living their lives, just darkness and quiet, and occasionally, very faintly, the sound of that church bell, still ringing its endless morning note. You have stopped going to church. The priest announced 2 weeks ago that services would continue, that faith would protect the faith. But you have seen what happened to faith. You have seen the priests themselves fall silent. The church is still there, its doors still open, but you do not. You pray at home to a God who seems very distant, asking not for salvation, but simply for the silence outside to remain outside, for whatever is killing the city to pass over your door. You saw the door yourself 3 days ago, barred shut, a cloth hung in the window, the signal that means the plague has entered that house. But before the silence fell completely, before the apothecary locked his door for the last time you visited, you paid too much, but money means little now. You bought what he said might help. Not a cure, he was honest about that, but protections against the bad air, the miasma that carries the sickness. Now these things sit on your table, a table by the window, where morning light falls in pale bars through the closed shutters. The table is old oak, scarred by years of use, but you have scrubbed it clean with water and vinegar, then scrubbed it again until your hands were raw and the wood was almost white. On the table sits a stone mortar, granite, heavy enough that you need both hands to lift it. The pestle is smooth from use, worn to a perfect fit by countless grinding motions. Around these tools are arranged your medicines, your protections, your small arsenal against the invisible threat. Rosemary first. You pick up the dried bundle and hold it to your nose, breathing in the sharp, clean scent. It smells of summer and hillsides and life. The apothecary said rosemary purifies air, drives away corruption. You break off several sprigs, the dried leaves crunching and releasing their fragrance into the room. Strip the leaves from the woody stems. They come away easily, falling onto the table in a small pile of grey-green needles. Pick up a handful and place them in the mortar. The pestle fits into your hand like it was made for you. Begin grinding. The first few rotations are rough, the dried leaves resisting, crackling under the pressure. But as you continue pressing down and rotating the pestle in slow circles, the leaves begin to break up. The sound changes from cracking to a softer crushing. The scent intensifies, filling your nose, your lungs, pushing out the stale air of the closed house. Grind slowly. There is no hurry. This is meditation as much as medicine. The circular motion of the gradual transformation of whole leaves into powder, the rhythmic scrape of stone on stone. You can feel the texture changing under the pestle, rough becoming smooth, separate pieces becoming a unified whole. After perhaps 5 minutes, the rosemary is a fine powder. You tap the pestle against the side of the mortar, shake the last bits of powder free and set it aside. Sage next. The dried sage is silvery, the leaves softer than rosemary, almost fuzzy to the The apothecary said sage drives away evil spirits, cleanses corrupted air, strengthens the humors. You do not fully understand the theory. The apothecary spoke of balance of hot and cold, wet and dry, but you understand that sage has power. People have known this for longer than anyone can remember. More leaves into the mortar. The pestle lifts and falls, grinds and circles. The sage breaks down more easily than the rosemary, releasing a scent that is earthier, more complex. There is something almost sweet underneath the herbal bitterness, something that reminds you of autumn and harvest time, of when the world was normal. Your arm finds a rhythm. Lift, press, rotate, lift, press, rotate. The motion is soothing, requiring just enough attention to quiet your thoughts, but not so much that it is tiring. The powder accumulates, the scent builds. Mint is last. The dried mint leaves are darker, more delicate. They crumble almost as soon as you touch them. Into the mortar with the rosemary and sage. Now the pestle moves through a mixture, the three scents combining and rising. The mint adds a brightness, a sharpness that cuts through the heavier sage and woody rosemary. Grind it all together. Feel the pestle moving through powder now, not lead. The mixture is smooth, almost silky. The combined scent is complex, layered, strong enough to clear your head, to push back the stale air of confinement. When the grinding is finished, you pour the powder into a small cloth bag, pulling the drawstring. This bag will hang around your neck, tucked inside your shirt, the herbs pressed against your chest. When you must go outside, to the well or to check on a neighbor, the scent will surround you, protect you from the bad air that carries the sickness. But there is more to do. On the table sits a small brazier, bronze, with holes around the rim for air. You have filled it with charcoal, And now you strike flint against steel until sparks catch in the tin. Blow gently, nurse the ember into flame. Add small pieces of charcoal until the fire is stable, glowing red in the dim room. Once the charcoal is hot, you add frankincense. The apothecary sold you a piece the size of your thumb, golden brown resin from trees that grow far to the south. As the resin meets the hot charcoal, it begins to smoke, not the acrid smoke of burning wood, but something thick and white and fragrant. A smoke that smells of churches and ceremonies and ancient sacred spaces. The smoke rises in a column, spreading out when it reaches the ceiling, filling the upper part of the room. The apothecary said, "Smoke purifies, drives away corruption, sanctifies space." You move the brazier slowly around the room, letting the smoke reach every corner, every shadow. Next, pine resin. Small lumps of amber-colored sap collected from trees and dried. These you place directly on the hot charcoal. They hiss and bubble, releasing a sharp, clean scent that mixes with the frankincense. The smell is of forests and vitality and life pushing back against death. The room is filled with scent now. The herbs around your neck, the smoke of frankincense and pine, and underneath it all, the lingering smell of crushed rosemary and sage and mint. It is almost overwhelming. But this is good. This is protection. This is barrier. This is you taking action in a world where most action is futile. You sit at your table, watching the smoke curl and drift, breathing air that is thick with medicine and prayer and desperate hope. Night has fallen, but the city is not dark. From your window, you can see an orange glow against the sky, pulsing and shifting like a living thing. The authorities have ordered fires to be lit at every major intersection. Great bonfires that burn day and night, meant to purify the air, to drive away the miasma that carries death through the streets. You can hear the nearest fire 3 streets away, not the crackle of flames, you are too far for that, but the sound of wood being added, the crash of logs being thrown onto the pile, and occasionally, voices calling orders. The fire tenders work in shifts, never letting the flames die, feeding them constantly with whatever wood can be found. Carts, fences, furniture from abandoned houses, even boats dragged up from the river and broken apart. The theory is simple, and it is old. Fire cleanses, fire purifies, the heat drives away corruption, burns the bad air, transforms the dangerous miasma into harmless smoke that rises into the sky where it can do no harm. Whether this is true, no one knows, but it is something to do, some action to take, against an enemy that cannot be seen or fought. Inside your home, you have your own fire, smaller than the great bonfires outside, but maintained with the same desperate care. Your hearth is stone, built into the corner of the main room, with a chimney that draws the smoke up and out. The fire has been burning continuously for 2 weeks now. You have not let it go out, even for a moment. To let it die would be to admit defeat, to surrender to the darkness, and the silence, and the plague. But this is not just any fire. You are burning specific woods that the herbalists and physicians say have power against pestilence. Juniper, when you can find it. The wood is twisted and hard, slow to catch, but long burning once it does, and it releases a smoke that is aromatic, almost sweet, a scent that makes you think of mountains, and clear air, and places far from cities and sickness. You have a small bundle of juniper wood on the floor beside the hearth. Each piece is no longer than your forearm, cut from branches rather than trunk. Pick one up now. Feel the weight of it, surprisingly heavy for its size. The bark is rough and peeling, reddish-brown, and when you scratch it with your thumbnail, the fresh wood beneath is pale and releases that distinctive juniper scent, even before burning. Place the log on the fire. It sits for a moment, dark against the glowing coals beneath it, and then a small flame licks up the side. The flame is blue at first, then yellow, and as it grows, the smoke begins to rise. Juniper smoke is thick and white, not acrid like common firewood smoke, but aromatic. Breathe it in, let it fill your lungs. The old women say juniper smoke has protected people since ancient times, that it was used in temples and sacred groves, that it carries prayers to heaven along with its rising column. Cedar is next. You have less of this. It is expensive, brought from distant forests, but you use it anyway. What is money now? What value do coins have when shops are closed and merchants are dead or fled? You place a piece of cedar beside the juniper. Cedar burns differently, with more resin, producing a smoke that is even thicker, even more fragrant. The scent is sharp and clean, cutting through the staleness of the closed house. The fire burns higher now, the juniper and cedar producing more heat than regular wood. The flames are bright orange, and they cast dancing shadows across the walls of your room. Watch the flames. They move with hypnotic randomness, never the same pattern twice, always shifting, always alive. The smoke rises up the chimney, but not all of it escapes. Some lingers in the room, forming a thin haze near the ceiling. You do not mind this. The smoke is protection. The smoke is medicine. You have learned to live with your eyes slightly irritated, with the constant taste of smoke in your mouth. These are small prices to pay for the feeling of safety that the fire provides. Outside, another load of wood is added to the public bonfire. You hear it crash and settle, hear the flames roar higher for a moment, before returning to their steady burning. Tomorrow, when dawn comes and you must venture out to the well, you will walk past that bonfire. You will feel its heat even from several feet away. You will see the exhausted faces of the fire tenders, men who have volunteered or been ordered to maintain these flames. You will see the pile of wood waiting to be burned, a pile that shrinks daily as the authorities strip the city of anything that will burn. But that is tomorrow. For now, there is your own fire, your own small circle of heat and light and purifying smoke. You settle onto your bench near the hearth, close enough to feel the warmth on your face and hands, and you watch the flames consume the juniper and cedar, transforming solid wood into heat and light and aromatic smoke that rises.